What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Becoming American Project. Uh, Me and my cousin Shaw here, ready to chop it up
That's
with
right.
y'all. We're gonna go ahead and break it down. So what we've been looking at now that we're done with the book, what we've been looking at is we want to talk a little bit about what's going on and how it relates to becoming American with the immigration stuff and what does that look like for uh, ADOS, Black Americans of
Yeah.
the descent of slaves?
Yeah. Also, the overlap,
So,
if there is any, with the historical context of W.B. Du Bois, more so focused on like maybe the first 5 chapters of the book that we just talked about. So yeah, sort of like the overlap.
all right.
Yeah. I don't have
All right.
many. Uh,
Well,
I don't have
let,
many.
let
I don't have many announcements. I gotta. We just kind of posting this. Haven't been doing my job, but I get back on it. Uh, for all of the links and things. But when we post this, I'll probably go back and create the subtopic and put the links in. You guys should be able to catch that.
all right. Well, let's jump into it, man. Let I'm gonna give my opinion of this immigration stuff that's going on, and you can give yours. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think it's a good thing. Obviously, if people know anything about this process, Trump is not the first, nor will he be the last president to enforce immigration laws. I do think I do think he's kind of going about it the wrong way. I think some of the stuff he's doing is a little bit too much. I think the ICE agents are. It's a hard job, man. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want to have to be out there uh, enforcing these laws. I do think they need to be enforced. Uh, Anybody who disagree with me, I challenge you to go to any country and just set up shop and move in, move your family over there, and start calling that place home and see how long you can stay. But I do
Yeah.
think it's necessary, especially for ADOS. I think it's necessary for us because if they find a replacement for us, which they're working on, because if they get enough immigrants over here to vote the way they want them to vote and think the way they want them to think, then since we're a small margin of the population, uh, they won't need us or care about us anymore. Uh,
Mhm.
that's just my thoughts on what you think.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to mostly look at this not so much from a speculative or conspiracy perspective. I've been mostly trying to look at it from an economic and political perspective, which sort of plays into, at least the political side sort of plays into what you're talking about. Um, I think the interesting thing is I think that, as particularly as it pertains to ADOS, is that this seems to be like a crossroads with us, to where like last time we did a podcast, I said that I believe that the ADOS community has largely been in rebellion, uh, pretty much since the '60s. Um, and this seems to be a crossroads because there are many. There seems to be a lot of black people or a lot of ADOS uh, that we consider ourselves drafted into the actual real America, right? Like the way you, like, just like you said, they're trying to replace us. Um, you have white America now, conservative white Americans that are saying things like the Great Replacement, and they're saying they're trying to replace white Americans, and to break up the sort of like the homogeny of uh, of the nation, is what they're saying. But we seem to be included in that discussion right now, even amongst white conservatives. We seem to be included in that discussion. So I do think that that's a particular way. It does seem to be sort of a crossroads that I think the ADOS community needs to really examine, because sort of like this title, it seems to be a way in something that we've probably been trying to accomplish for centuries. Um, Seems to be slowly moving towards that, which is the uniting of the two original races that built this country. And so, yeah, I think that that's a peculiar way of looking at it, or a
I don't
different way
think
of
that
looking at
it's
it.
I don't think it's speculative at all when they openly say uh when they openly admit that, hey, we want wait, let's back up. No borders. America shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have borders. You should freely be able to
Mm-hmm.
move in and out. And then
Mm-hmm.
the ultimate goal with that is now you can be counted in the census because it's open borders. No one is illegal. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone has all the same rights. So I don't think it's speculative at all. I think that you're giving it a disservice by not honoring or admitting to what they are doing. With no borders, everyone can come in, anyone can leave whenever they want, which is the leaving part is not true because we can't go to Canada,
Yeah.
we can't go to Mexico. Uh, I have uh, Hispanics in my family who are here on work visas.
Mm-hmm.
So I, they're doing it the right way. That they're not being bothered by anyone. And you can say as of right now, whatever you want to say, but they got their paperwork. Uh, but the fact remains is that they still are here legally, and they're doing it the right way, which they still don't have the right to vote. Because they're not citizens, so they
Yeah,
can't vote. But what they do
but it's still counted on
understand,
the census.
they're still counting on the census. But uh, what the world isn't telling these people who's out there protesting nice is that Mexico is doing the exact same thing right now because they got stuck in the
Mm-hmm.
middle with all those people coming from South America going cutting through
Yeah.
Mexico to get to America. Now they can't get in. Now those people are stuck. Now
Mm-hmm.
Mexico is doing the exact same thing and deporting people. Because
Yeah.
Mexico don't want them there. So we sit here and we act like what we're doing is this bit bag thing, and but we're not going to go to anybody else's country and make them do it. And then you look at Europe.
Yeah.
Europe has been invaded, like Great Britain, England, all those places. They have been
London.
invaded,
Yeah.
yeah, London, by the Muslim countries, and now
Yeah.
they certain areas that they live in, man, they're forced to abide by them people rules, and they don't even make the laws there. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's not I don't believe it's speculative at all. I believe it's forthcoming, and we need to be aware. Look around the world at where it has already happened, and know that they're trying to do it here, and we're going to face the same outcomes if we don't change it.
Yeah. So, but that's what I mean by speculative. Like, right? That's something that that's something that we can sort of, let's say you can try to deduct. Let's say the best example we would have is there was about a decade, um, primarily during the Obama administration and partly during the Trump administration. Remember when Trump did the Muslim ban on certain countries in his first term?
Hmm.
There was about a decade of just rampant terrorist attacks in Europe, right? Between the UK, I believe it may have been some in Germany and places like that. There was massive terrorist attacks. I mean, probably one. It's probably like one every month at the peak of it, and that had a lot to do with the asylum seeking immigration laws that sort of that transform the demographics of it. The reason I say it is speculative, though, right, is because we have to understand. One, we have to understand the history of uh, of immigration, right? Uh, Immigration, in my opinion, has always been a tool to balance economic and political power, right? Uh, we talk about people talk about the Obama administration and the deporter, him being the deporter in chief and deporting 3 million people over a two-term or 8-year span, and and that is the largest number recorded in history by a presidential term, 3 million people. Well, no one asked why he did it. Why did he do it? It was because we were in the Great Recession, the the greatest economic downturn the U.S. has ever experienced since the Great Recession. And so, largely, what I believe, and I have found some data to back this up, is that immigration loosens during immigration and loosens or expands during economic growth patterns, and it tightens during economic uh during economic
Hard times.
tightening
Yeah.
during economic downturns. Yeah. So when jobs are scarce, when jobs are scarce, uh, immigration becomes a hot topic. It becomes a big topic, and I don't necessarily know who actually holds the lever. It's either it seems like it may be uh, a few different patterns, because I do believe that the people, you know, uh, the people to govern, I do think that they hold to some degree the power to put pressure on the government on our government elect to enforce immigration. I also think that uh, corporations and capitalists lobby for loose immigration laws because with uh, with it supplies them with labor that allows them to balance wages, because because it introduces more competition into the workforce. But I also think that the government, the people in charge, they use it as a political ploy to capture power from one side or the other, depending on which one they need. Between the two, between the many and the few, between the upper class and between the elites, the owners, and the middle class or the working class. So it's I think it's a very extreme, it's a very just messy thing uh that I think ultimately ambiguous immigration laws, I believe, ultimately benefits capitalists. And so that's why I think that immigration it's just always going to be like this. In the case of Trump and MAGA, I think it may be two things. One, AI scares a lot of people. The market took a big hit this week because a guy released and sort of like an essay talking about AI is pretty much going to be able to do everything. AI is pretty much going to be able to replace jobs. The market took a massive hit to that, and so we ask ourselves, okay, well, why is immigration a hot topic for MAGA? Is Trump just using this as a sort of political ploy to gain following, to gain followers, to gain power, and things like that? Maybe, but it could also be that something is coming down the pipe with AI that scares the shit out of the people in power, and they're like, listen, we need to get rid of some of the laborers in the country so that we don't have a country that collapses under the you know when the AI thing kind of comes into full force and really removes a lot of jobs from the marketplace.
Yeah, yeah, that could be. Uh, I do think AI plays a big part in what's going on.
You do?
It AI is moving really quick, man. It's gaining ground.
Yeah.
Some jobs it's not going to be able to replace. I don't care what they say. Some jobs you're actually going to need people on scene. You know, you can have robots there that people work remotely from somewhere, but you're still at some jobs you're just going to need people there. I think construction is one of them for the simple fact that the human eye can pick up things that a camera can't. You know that when something's
Mm-hmm.
going wrong with building and stuff. But other than that,
Mm-hmm.
but I I I, I I give Trump a little bit too much. I don't know. Sometimes I think, not all the time. Sometimes I think he's just 4 or 5 steps ahead of the way most people think. When you like the whole Greenland thing, I know this off topic a little bit, but the whole Greenland thing, um, that is really military strategic. That is a
Mm-hmm.
way to keep our enemies away. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
to gain control of some real resources. You know, what they call them,
The rare earth, the rare
rare
earth.
earth resource.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some things that we're going to need. You know what I'm saying? So whether we have AI or not, we're going to need those resources. So that was
Mm-hmm.
real. He's a few steps ahead. Did he
We're gonna
go
need
about
those
that?
resources because of AI.
That's what I'm saying.
That's how you build it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah. And and
Yeah.
then you can build AI to repair AI. So
Yeah.
it's just gonna be a bunch of people sitting in their underwear behind the laptop at home, you know, working on
Mm-hmm.
stuff from a distance. But I still think that the whole immigration thing, man, that probably plays a part in it. I won't say it won't. I just think the whole immigration thing is people. I think some politicians think as small as the more people we can have vote for us, the more people we can give amnesty to and give them citizenship and make them legal
Mm-hmm.
and let them know that, hey, we did this for you. Vote for us next year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that's a big part because people in power don't want to lose power. I don't care. And I'm sick of this left and right thing, man. When they all going out for the same thing, they just doing it in different ways. You know what I'm saying? They all want to stay in power. They're just doing it differently.
Yeah. So so I'm gonna go through. Let me go through this sort of like a history lesson, really quickly about like immigration, how it's sort of impacted because it plays into, to me, the political part more so than the economic part, but it plays into both. So like if we start from like W.E.B. Du Bois, 19th century, right?
Right.
We have a country that's divided. We have a country with slavery in the southern part. We have a country with industry that's expanding in the northern part, right? In the midst of that, 19 million European immigrants uh, uh, migrate to the country, right? And so
Yeah.
what that did was that created an imbalance. Um, it created an imbalance, right? But it also killed the party, right? Because the Republican Party did not exist until 1854. The Whigs Party was the one that existed prior to 1854. So what you have is 19 million immigrants coming to the country, and according to W.E.B.
But
Du Bois, which is where I
they
think we
needed
are
labor.
now,
They needed labor back
they
then.
needed labor for industry, but they also but the immigrants saw the opportunity to become capitalists or self-sustaining because of land, and the expansion of land to the west is what caused the rupture, right? Starting in Bleeding, Kansas in 1854, right? So
Hmm.
19 million immigrants destabilized the old oligarchy that resided in the South, that had all of the political power and a highly concentrated amount of wealth, right?
Hmm.
That 19 million broke the power structure, which then, of course, we know led to the Civil War, which led to the emancipation to win the Civil War. All right. Then we move beyond that, and you have the expansion of industry. Immigration actually ran hot until about 1917 or something around that, to where they tried to implement some rules like reading and competency to let people in. Then you hit 1924, where you get the first Immigration Act, right? That
Okay.
was centered on race, by the way. That was centered on
Hmm.
race. Within the act, they said they wanted to preserve the hegemony of the country, and so they prioritized. Uh, and so because they didn't necessarily prioritize, the way the act was written was they wanted to limit the expansion of immigrants to 2% of the total population based on the census of 1890, right? And so so now they're limiting, they limited the import. Immigration was to a trickle, right?
Yeah.
Up until 1965, when we get the civil rights movement and they make it a moral thing, right? And because they make it, because the act of 1924 was deeply exclusive to to the Asian community, from what I read, which was weird. But anyways, 1965 comes, right, and all of this stuff, the Great Society Bill. It was a ton of shit that Lyndon B. Johnson did in the Great Society Bill, that included civil rights and immigration rights, right? They switched immigration from preserving the hegemony to family preference and labor preference. They switch it to saying we want to prioritize people who already have family here, so they're reuniting the family. But the second part was high skilled labor. High skilled
Hmm.
labor was priority, and so you get 1965 with that, and that's where you get mostly the Asians and I believe Latin America's that come into the country. Um, then you have and then the border thing really didn't come into play. They said into Reagan into 1986 with the what was it called? I think it's IRCA. Um, but what was crazy about Reagan was Reagan actually went after companies. He went after corporations, excluding farmers. He went after corporations that were hiring people that were here illegally, and he created a fine for them. and things like that. So, um, which brings us to the 90s, where 90s had high immigration, low inflation, uh,
and high
uh, what
incarceration,
is it called?
because
Yeah.
immigration is also linked to high incarceration rates among people with low skills.
Well, you had the drug epidemic that spread throughout, particularly the black
But
community.
that was because a lot. I mean that because of jobs also though. That was because
It was because of a lot of things.
it was because of a lot of things. But this also
I
plays a
think it
part
was
into it.
largely because we were in rebellion, though.
Yeah,
I think
you
it's
can
we
say
were in
that.
rebellion.
Yeah, you can say that. I'm
So
saying
you
though, but
saying that? So you saying that the crime
statistics
epidemic
show.
that hit the
No, statistics show that higher immigration leads to higher incarceration among low skill people due to diminishing job prospects, so they turn to crime.
Oh, got you. Okay, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, so the immigrant that becomes a janitor takes the job from the black person that could become a janitor, and that black person turns to crime.
And
Yeah,
the
I
immigrant
can see that.
community, yeah, but the immigrant community has been known to live, uh, you know, 2 3 families to a household, so they could also afford lower. They would also be more willing to take a lower wage because they would pool their money together and work together. We have always been based on individuality, and we think that it's a bad thing if you still live with your parents at 30. We think it's put grandma in the nursing home. Don't bring her into your household, and you know what I'm saying. Let her be in the house with us. But immigrants have always they still live together and they can afford lower
Yeah, I
wages.
think so. I think that I still think that a large part of the criminality that hit the black community has to do with rebellion. The reason I say that is because
I'm not saying you're wrong.
prior, so prior, so immediately following the emancipation, right? The biggest worry was 4 million newly newly made citizens entering the labor force, willing to work for cheaper wages. That was always the biggest issue, even during slavery. That was always the biggest issue that white immigrants had with black freedmen. Um, and so it's not like we don't have a history of doing the exact same thing that you say that the immigrants do. The problem is that we don't, historically speaking, around the 60s, we didn't count ourselves as part of the American uh, constituents
But but
constituency.
but
We
a lot of
counted
black folks still try to
ourselves.
live. They still try to live the same way. They still try to count themselves out of the system. But where you gonna go?
Yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is, and to my point in earlier, I feel like the ADOS community is actually. I feel like we're at a crossroads to where many people are saying now, no, I am American. I do belong here. My ancestors died, fought in blood, and built this nation, and I do have every God-given right to exercise my citizenship as a true citizen and a true productive person of society. I think a lot of people are doing that. I think a lot of ADOS is doing that now. Now there's a division in it, but I think a lot of them are doing it now. Uh, but in the 90s, if you grew up, 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, teenagers, like, we weren't hearing that. We were, it was rebellion. It was thug life. It was, get your paper. Go to jail. This is what you do. So I think it was a culture of rebellion that largely did that. Now, I'm not saying that your point is completely wrong, particularly when you talk about the globalization that came in the '60s, uh, that replaced black male labor, um, and actually replaced the black male labor with black female labor, in, like, offices and the digital movement. But so it destabilized the family. But I also feel like it was really just rebellion that spurred it. But yeah, I mean, there is a case to be made that, um, some of these
It's a
black
whole
kids
lot
that go to
easier.
jail all the time. Hmm.
Man, look, it's a whole lot easier to rebel when you don't have as many opportunities available to you. When it's harder to go to school, learn a trade, uh, when they make it financially, you got to remember, man. My dad learned a skill, a trade in high school. He
Yeah.
learned it in high school. High school didn't teach him what these kids are learning today. I mean, it did, but it mostly taught him. He did a work study program where he went to work for Southern Bell most of the day while he was in high school. And when he
Yeah.
graduated, he had a job
With
and
Southern
he
Bell.
continued you know what I'm saying? He continued to work for, but that wasn't the only trade that they was giving in high school back then. They was doing plumbers, they was doing woodworking, they was doing electrical work.
Mm-hmm.
Th- These were things that you could actually learn in high school that cost a black child nothing. And then you would have something
That's a good point.
coming straight out of high school. Then they took all that out of high school and then made a whole separate school for it. Where I mean, as an electrician, you need to know math skills. You need to know a little bit about the science of electricity. You learning these valuable uh, uh, subjects that you need to learn, but you're learning them pertaining to that job that you will be doing, where you can go on and open your own business and make the market more competitive. We
Mm-hmm.
lost that. We lost that in the '60s.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is a really good point, and I think that's also one of the challenges with immigration, because, like, the two things, and this is what I give Trump is flowers, right? Trump identified in this during this run, uh, what really impact wages, what really impact labor, and he did, and he said we're going to prioritize American citizens in the labor force. And he did two things. He talked about tariffs, which impedes the progress of offshoring, globalization, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he talks about immigration, which brings labor that is willing to work at a lower cost back into the uh, into the
Labor
market.
pool.
So if you alleviate those two things, what you do is you actually give labor power, right, to negotiate wages higher. It is not a coincidence that wages were stagnant. That's the word I was trying to find. Wages were stagnant largely between 1990 and 2010. Wages were grossly stagnant over that period of time, but inflation was still compounding at about roughly 1.5 to 2%, you know, uh, for the totality. the so you really just kind of have to ask the question. I think what's more important, because one of the things that we do that you have to recognize with this is growth contributes to inflation, right? It does. It always has. Maybe it doesn't have to, you know. Maybe that's something that we have to figure out. But wage growth always contributes. It is the greatest contributor to inflation historically, right? Um, and so the question becomes, okay, can we stabilize the economy, removing these price pressures that drive wage prices down, which is offshoring and immigration. And I think that's something that we'll have to find out. Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't think we're going to find it out. I think the Trump administration is going to do they're going to do this one term, and whether it's uh, JD Vance or somebody else somebody else that's lined up with the Trump administration, or a Democrat wins. I actually think that they're going to go back to the status quo. I actually think they're going to go back to the status quo. Economists don't like. There's no economist that likes tariffs. All economists are pro globalization, um, and all of them understand the importance of putting pressure on wages to go down. And so I don't think long term this is going to sustain itself. I think it's just going to be cyclical, and it may be cyclical for a while.
Man, uh, besides immigration, I think one of the biggest, excuse me, one of the biggest things that drives down wages is the stock market.
Why you say
You,
that?
you, it's it's real. Sometimes things are simple enough that a child can understand it. When a corporation cares more about paying out dividends or uh, enriching its investors more than it does paying its employees, you if you want to make sure you got money to pay your investors, you need to just not pay well.
Yeah, I,
You can disagree.
I don't.
You can disagree. Here's what
I absolutely
that's
100% disagree.
good,
But
good. Because
but
but hold on, because this is why I say that.
I don't even
I,
see how you get there though. That's what I'm saying.
pre pre 1960s, do your own research if you think I'm a fool. Pre 1960 CEOs, CFOs, and all owners of businesses only made between 30 and 40% more than they put their money back into the company as much as possible. They focus on paying people a decent living wage. That's why a man could go to work for a company and afford a house, a car, a credit card for him and his wife, groceries, kids, going to private school or public school, whatever school. A man could afford that because the corporations wasn't as greedy, and they wasn't, yes, there was a stock market, but they wasn't focused on robbing the employee as much as they are now. Now they understand that labor is a huge cost in owning a business. So you want to keep labor costs down. The reason and you keep labor costs down to what? Boost your profits, and you boost your profits. Who wins from you boosting your profits? Your shareholders.
Yeah, but you also have to understand that shareholders actually pay into ownership.
I understand that. I
They pay
understand how
into
that
it.
works. I understand that. But do they deserve 300 times more than the people actually doing the labor?
It's apples and oranges. It's apples and oranges, right? That's not how
I
that's not how stock prices move. Stock prices move on speculation.
right, but you got to have money. They invest, right? They put money into the company, and it that trickle down economics that Reagan talked about never happens.
Yeah, yeah. But so your assumption is that
My assumption.
so your assumption is
My
your
assumption. I like the way
assumption.
you worded that.
Yeah, because it's an assumption. It's definitely an assumption. Your assumption
Okay.
is that that shareholders earn money based on
Profit
shared
margins.
profits. Based on shared profits. That's essentially what you're saying. You're saying a
What?
company makes a lot of money. They increase their profit margins, and then they share those profits with the investor. Right?
No,
That,
shareholders win when a company increases its profits. No shareholder
yeah,
wins when a company
but
loses money.
so does the labor force. If a
The
company
labor
increases
force
its
rarely
profit,
get an increase.
everybody
What they
wins.
get a pizza party? They get a pizza party.
Yeah, but you're talking about the increase of if you're talking about the increase of wages, that's something totally different. Like
That's
what
just
I'm
what I
saying
that's
is,
what I was talking about. That
but
that's
but
that was the start of my whole conversation.
wage increase is not based on companies' profits. Wage increase
Right.
wage increase has never been based on companies' profits. That's why I'm talking. That's why I talk about immigration. Wage increase has always been centered around the demand for labor. That's what wages.
Right.
That's what drives wages. That's just like prices. What drives inflation? Price increases are centered around scarcity of product. That's largely what drives up prices. So when so when like for instance, the way they work hand in hand as far as like labor and inflation, right, is that um, if it costs me $100 to produce, let's say 10 cups, right? Let's say it costs me $100 to produce 10 cups. I sell each cup each of these cups for $5 a piece. Right? I produce 10 cups, $1 a piece. I sell them for $5 a piece. That gives me what? $50? No, no. That's what? $500? I don't know. I'm trying to make a round number. If it costs me $1 to produce and I produce 100 cups, I sell those cups for $5. That gives me $500, right? All right. Well, what happens if my labor force says we want to increase, right? That's gonna, and let's say they want 50% per cup. So now my wages goes up.
Now
My
your labor
production
costs
cost
went up.
goes up from $1. Yeah, the overall production cost goes from $1 to $1.50. Now
Right.
there are
I
many
just
ways I could
said.
offset this. There are many ways I can offset this. I can fire people and produce less cups, right? And me firing people and producing less cups can actually
Makes
create
higher
more
demand.
demand for the cups, and then people
You can
bid
raise
up
the
the
price.
prices. So yeah, and so people bid up the prices. So it's on both sides. Now, here's the thing: if people say we want more money and it costs me 50% to give an increase to my labor force in production, I don't have to give it unless the guy across the street who makes cups is saying, yeah, I'm willing to pay this, or I'm willing to give you 25 cents. I'm willing to give you an increase that equals out to about 25 cents more a cup. That's what drives labor prices up. That's why scarcity in labor makes wages go up. Stocks don't have anything to do with it because stocks
Right.
make
So
money
so
off speculation.
and my whole point is when that owner decides he wanted, okay, look, I'm across the street, I'm gonna give 25 cents per cup more than you. That's what I'm gonna average, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that for my employees. Now you don't have to get that increase, like you just said. But what that
Yeah,
does is that bites into it, like you said, it bites into my profit margins, what I bring home, not
yeah,
my employees. They're bringing
yeah.
in more. I'm bringing in less. So now that I'm bringing in less, my shareholders are going to see, oh, well, he gave his people an increase, but he didn't increase the price of his cups. Now he's making less money, and the guy across the street didn't raise their income, and he's still making more
Yeah.
money. He's getting more shares. We should invest with this guy across the street because he's going to drive down the employee the wages. He's going to make this guy have to drop his prices back or fire some people, and that's what they're doing with this immigration. It's the same thing. So you're going to invest with the guy that's going to make the most money. You're not, and labor cost is one of the biggest costs a business have. So if
Yeah.
you can minimize your labor costs, like I was saying, you're going to invest with the guy making more money. You're not going to invest with the guy making less money who makes the same
But
product.
how does that play into the stock market? That plays into immigration.
That it plays into all of it. They are all hand in hand. That's what
The
I'm trying
stock
to say.
market, it doesn't do anything for the
You,
stock market outside of
who do
increased
investment?
profits. Increased profits, yes, increased profits increases the value of a stock, right? So yes, you're right about that. Or it's more of increased earnings. The more earnings I can create, the more the more profits I can create, the more earnings I can create, the more earnings I create, it makes my stock look more attractive. But that's still based on speculation. If I was to if I was to take my company private and we didn't, and it was not on the stock market, and we just had like angel investors, right? You're still going to be impacted by the cost of labor,
Now
right?
you're
Even
moving
though
the
you don't have any
goalposts, talking about
shareholders.
angel investors and all that stuff. Now you're moving the goalposts. But anyway, that's fine. But
But no,
that's why
no,
I'm saying
I'm just
immigration.
saying
That's why.
that
But that's
stocks
why I'm
move on
saying
speculation.
and
Stocks move on
speculation on
speculation.
immigration, speculation of immigration of the
But
labor pool,
immigration
of the
immigration
workforce.
drives down.
If
It wage price downward. Immigration creates wage prices downward.
that hasn't happened.
That's it has always happened. That's what happened with
You say immigration make you
post
say
COVID.
higher immigration makes prices go down. That's what you just said, right? Did I hear that right?
No, no, I said I said it causes wage prices to go down.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah.
cost
Oh
of
yeah, yeah, yeah,
labor
yeah. Right.
it puts pressure on wages.
And the stock market is doing great, ain't it?
The stock market doing great for a different reason though. It's apples and oranges.
They're
I'm
all
just
in
saying it's
bed
apples and
together.
oranges.
That's what I'm trying to get you to figure out, dog. They all in bed together.
That's what people say who don't understand the stock market.
Okay. That and
I
I think
love the market.
uh, oh, I like the market too. I think that's what people say who don't understand that none of this moves without the other piece.
Yeah, I can give you that. I can give you that.
So neither one of
I
them move up or down without the other piece. This ball is all together. If you take one
Yeah,
piece
it's
out
all
of it,
part to the
if you take
broader
one piece out
economy.
of it, you take one piece out, the whole thing gets wobbly.
Yeah, it's all tied to the broader economy. I'm just talking about
I'm
like
I'm
as it
talking about the whole.
pertains to
We're talking
making.
about we're talking about immigration, right? And we're talking about this
Yeah,
whole thing, how it works together, right? That's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
You can talk about one thing. I'm talking about the ball as a whole,
No,
how it all.
I'm talking about the same thing you're talking about. What I'm
Okay.
saying is the way that what you're suggesting is people make money off of the stock market by exploiting immigration. What I'm saying is people make money off of the
Those are
stock
your words
market
that you just said.
based on speculation.
That
So
That
what
is
was your
what
point
you
for the
just
stock market?
you putting words in my mouth. My
What was your
whole
point for the
point.
stock
I was
market?
talking about how immigration, wages, and the stock market all work together.
Yeah. So you're saying that because immigration puts pressures on wages downward, that's good for the shareholder. Is that what you're
Of
saying? I
course,
can agree with
of
that.
course.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Well, damn, what the hell we up here arguing
I
about?
can agree with that. Yeah, but that's not how you make money in the stock market. Stock market money is made through
That,
speculation.
but did it help?
Yeah. Wages
Then
being
talking
low
about that.
helps.
Then what you talking about then?
I'm just saying. I don't even know how we got on the stock market, man. You brought it up. Like
No,
I'm
I
just
was
trying to
just saying.
defend. I'm just
No,
trying to
okay,
defend
you can
my
defend it.
love for this great country and capitalism. That's all I'm trying to do. You know.
I'm not trying to do away with capitalism. I'm not trying to say it's not a good thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm showing how all of this works together, and you just said it does.
Yeah, yeah. All of it is a part of the broader economy. But there's a lot of things that's part of the broader economy.
Right. But I'm
That's
saying
not.
this all works together. That's all I'm saying. Slow
Yeah.
down there, killer.
If you want to blame anything, I want to blame. I'm gonna blame global warming.
Okay. I I'm sticking
We
with
gonna blame
immigration.
global warming. We gonna blame global warming.
That ain't even real.
No, but
Immigration is real. So I don't know what you're talking about.
that's what I'm saying. But somehow global warming affects the stock market.
Oh, I ain't
I don't know
heard of
about
that one.
immigration. I mean, global warming. I can't say that it's not real, but I also think it's not what they make it out to be. I think the Greenland thing that you brought up is evidence that the climate is shifting because that was the main thing about Greenland is that that ice is melting, creating different alternative pathways to the western hemisphere, and Greenland is strategically positioned in a place where Russia, China, and actually Canada uh, seem to neighbor it. Yeah. So yeah, let's get back into let's get back into let's get back into immigration though. So the side
I never left. You did.
yeah, yeah. So the side that I haven't really talked about is the political side, right? That you sort of started with. Um, and I wanted to really just kind of tap into the economic side first. The political side, I think, is where the majority of the speculation lies, right? Because there is a track record for particularly the Democratic Party to utilize certain marginalized groups in order to either gain or maintain political power. What I am talking about is the three-fifths compromise, right? Now, I know that's a little sticky and tricky because we look at three-fifth compromise as a sort of racial indictment on black people, right? Like the way that people generally interpret the three-fifth compromise is not from a political perspective, it's from a moral perspective. And what they say is the three-fifth compromise was making a statement that black people were only three-fifths of a human. I want to advise everyone who thinks that is false. The three-fifth compromise was simply a math problem for the planter class to to leverage their slave ownership in order to gain more political power. It had nothing to do with how people interpreted black folks. It was simply an arithmetic problem. It was simply a math problem to weight to tilt the scale of political power into the Democratic Party, which was controlled by the planners. So why is that something that I look at when I'm talking about immigration, right? Because particularly when you have things like sanctuary cities, to where illegal immigrants can migrate to your city, set up shop, and they be protected from the prosecution of the federal government, right? Uh, these people don't have a right to vote, right? They they don't have a right to vote. They may not have a right to labor, right? But they will be counted on the census, and census count actually is how you determine seats in the House, so representation, and also funding, federal funding, right? Um, to me, it you can't prove it, right, until it's done. But if there is a if there is sort of this sinister ploy for the Democratic Party centered around sanctuary cities, that would be it. It would be a reenactment, not in like not in thought or in expression, but in outcome. It would be a reenactment of the three-fifth compromise, in my opinion. What do you think?
Uh, I do think that quite a few people thought we were less than. Uh, to go back to where you started from, you say it had absolutely nothing to do with it. I think quite a few people thought we were uh, truly less than, and so they thought we were 3/5 of an intelligent human being. They looked at us on the line of evolving, later evolving from apes than they have. So I do think they thought we were less. I do see your correlation. I mean that is what I've said for a while, that with the immigrations here, especially sanctuary cities, there's no way to even tell whether they're going to let them vote or not. That's the next step. Once you get them here, is to pardon all of their law breaking and to give them full citizenship and allow them to vote. That is the next step. We can call it a slippery slope
You
or
know that
whatever you
actually
call
happened. You know that actually happened before.
it. Okay, but that's what I'm saying. So
You guess
it's
you know who did it?
who
Reagan.
Reagan. See, there you
Reagan.
go.
Reagan pardoned 3 million in 1986. He pardoned 3 million
Cubans.
immigrants, illegal immigrants that were already here. Um, and then they implemented what it was part of the, I think it's IRCA, I think it was bill.
We'll see. But
Um,
see, and there's the replacement. Like I said, it's not speculative. Uh, once they no longer, hey, y'all niggas just keep killing each other. Y'all niggas keep making trap music. Y'all keep on niggering stuff up, and hey, we
keep
just
on
gonna
being
build more.
niggas.
Yep, we're gonna build more jails. We might even start a deportation for you niggas. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but I'm just saying. But we'll build more jails. We'll send down harder sentencing. We're not going to be advocating for your vote anymore. There's going to be very little protection under the law for you, and I truly
Yeah, I
think
think that's I think that's extreme.
I
So
think
there's a
it's,
few things that you said
but
that
but
I
but here's the wait, hold on. But you say that's extreme. That's the same thing people said when conservatives or Christians said that, hey, we don't need to legalize gay marriage because we're gonna have people out here uh going into women's bathrooms and eating it. it's gonna be this and that and other. And, oh no, that's extreme. That's extreme. That'll never happen. Now there's a group of people that call themselves maps, and they're trying to get full acceptance into the culture, to the alphabet culture. And what MAP stands for is minor attracted persons. That these are
Yeah.
pedophiles who are trying to get acceptance. They already got their own flag. So
Well,
we call when people say, I think that's extreme. Yes, it probably seems extreme right now. But not too long ago, it seemed extreme that you would even let gay people get married. And then that got passed. Then it seemed extreme that there would be men competing in women's sports. And now that's happening. It seemed extreme. It seemed extreme that we was going to have self-driving cars in major cities. Here we are.
yeah. And still, I think your
You can think it's
position
extreme. That's fine.
on on deporting black people
Oh no, I said
and
that. No, I
and
said no. I said that was a
taking
joke.
away citizenship
No, no, I
and all
said
of
that was a
that, I
joke.
think
I
that is
said that was a
extreme.
joke. I said that was a joke. Calm
Yeah.
down.
Okay. So what? So I mean, but what part of it do you think? What part is real then? You think? Do
The
you
part that
think
is
they're going to?
replacement.
Do you think they're going to reenact Jim Crow?
No, no, they won't
Do you
have
think
to.
that
They won't have to. All they'll do is just let us kill each other and then lock us. The ones
that's
who do it, lock them away.
nah. I was thinking about this the other day. Yeah, the story about the KKK guy that you
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
KKK
yeah,
guy that you met. Yeah, man.
yeah,
I tell
yeah.
that story. That joke was funny as hell.
Um, First job out of the Marine Corps doing low voltage was doing this big mansion north of the city of Atlanta. Dude had a whole his little office space had a whole clan suit in it, hanging on the wall. All these plaques from the clan. He feeding us lunch and lemonade, talking to us all, being cool with us, cool with us. Told us that the clan didn't have to be racist no more. That we would do it for him. All his words has come true.
Said he was the
And
nicest white man you ever met.
nice as can be. Fed us lunch and
fed us,
lemonade, dog.
fed us lunch. A Klansman.
Hey,
Said we all doing our work for us. We just need to let you kill each other.
just keep it up. Keep it
My
up.
man said thank
He
you.
probably thought
My
he
man
probably
said
sat there.
thank you.
Yeah, he probably sat there and thought they won't keep these jobs long. They gonna fuck it up. You know what I'm saying? And if you still alive and you see this dude, I'm seeing it
Oh boy.
on the right side of the law.
Oh man, yeah. Nah, I was thinking about that. Nah, but yeah, kind of to your point. Like, so you're saying, so what would be the extreme measure that the government takes? That you think? How do you think? The great replacement theory for ADOS. How do you think that will affect us?
uh, it, I think it's already in the steps are already in motion. Uh,
But what are the outcomes though? That's what I mean.
the the outcomes are it's not going to be so much redlining, but it's going to be to the point where if you are a law abiding black person, you will be given normal regular privileges because either the
Mm-hmm.
conservatives or the liberals are going to know they can depend on your vote, whichever side of the spectrum you fall on, red or blue. Uh, but for all the rest of them niggas, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
there will be no mercy in courts for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're
I would say it shouldn't
just
be.
like yeah, just like in the '80s when they had projects, they gonna group them niggas together. They gonna make sure they get them somewhere and tell them, oh, this gonna be a safe place for y'all. We're gonna help you get on your feet. They gonna put you there and they gonna throw you away.
Tell you
I
what.
think that's what the government do.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I ain't mad at that. Like, so here's my
I know
like
you ain't
here's my
mad at it because
position.
me and you go back. Wait, me and you go back and forth about it all the time. Where I say that I do believe that there, because you and me was those niggas at one point in our life. I think some of those kids are
Yeah,
worth
yeah,
saving. I think some of those kids can be saved. Let me put it that way. I
yeah,
think some of those kids can be saved, want to be saved out of those situations, and I think that we need to focus on them and try to get them.
yeah. So I'm not against reform, right? I'm against I'm against. Uh, I think reform. Let me put it this way. I think reform has to be an inner experience that 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 you seek outwardly. I don't think that reform can come to a person. I think reform has to start within. Like I learned
I agree.
pretty quickly. I learned pretty quickly, basically just through watching the people that I was around get locked up, not have no money, sleep in cars. And I said to myself, wait a minute, I am okay with just getting a job, you know. Like I make more money working than I do selling drugs. And so I stopped selling drugs. And I went and got a job. Like it just to me, it was like I said, it was a math problem to me. Um there's some now there so once that became evident, then I sought reform. You know, I went to church. I became a Bible thumping holy roller for a period of my life. I went to school, studied the Bible, became educated. That led me through a long other path. Now I've made tons of mistakes since then, but I sought reform because because the evidence was stacked against me that I would be a successful drug dealer turned rapper. So I was just like, okay, this clearly is a one in a million. This is a moonshot. Me to one to become a successful drug dealer, be able to
Yeah.
pivot that into becoming a successful artist. That is a one. That is a moonshot. And I realized pretty early on, probably like after 3 months, I was like, this is bullshit. So, so I just stopped. Um, what I'm against though is me as a reformed uh ADOS male going to, you know, high crime rated communities trying to plead with young black men to reform their lives. I'm like, no, that's a waste of time to me. That's a waste of time because we already know from decades of people approaching that, trying to approach it that way, that it doesn't work. And generally, what happens is it becomes a strain on the system because those people just bleed money out of the system. Like they just bleed money out of the system. If you listen to what's the guy, Brandon Johnson or something, the guy in Chicago, when
Okay.
when the mayor of Chicago, the black guy, the black
Okay.
mayor of
Yeah. Yeah.
Chicago.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
It's Brandon something. When Trump was talking about, look, crime is out of control in Chicago, we're going to send the National Guard in there. You know, this brother stands up and says, this brother stands up and says, uh, you know, policing is a complex, and we learned that from Dr. King, which is a lie. Uh, he says policing is a complex that needs to be dealt with. We don't need more police. We need more funding. Like, idiot. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, they have some of the highest murder rates for young black men, and he's talking about money. How is money going to stop a young black gangbanger from killing another young man? It's not. We know that already. So so why are we having these discussions about reforming people that don't want to be reformed? What we need to be focused on is creating environments where those who can thrive in the proper environment will thrive. And if we focus on that, then to quote to quote your old KKK friend, they'll do the work for us.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah.
do the work. Yeah, so yeah, that's why I'm against it, because it's just a strain on the system.
I get what
It's
you're
just a
saying. I
strain
get
on
what
the
you're saying.
system.
I think pleading with some of them works though. Well, yes and no. I agree. Yes and no. Here's what I mean. All right. So by the time I was in the 10th grade, I had two homeboys that was in prison for murder.
Hmm.
I had several homeboys that was dead because of the drug culture. We had a cousin who was dead because of the drug culture. I
Hmm.
had a dad who was strung out because of the drug culture. And I still tried to sell drugs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but eh, I had I did have I had two female white teachers who honestly pled with me to stop hanging out with the folks I was hanging out to do things differently. Which obviously I didn't listen. I did what I wanted to do. But now I'm 49 years old. I remember them teachers though. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I do remember them. One of them, uh, she actually convinced my mom to send me to this camp down there in over on Campbellton Road back in the 90s, where they sent kids with behavior issues to go to the summer camp where you learn college. You went to, it was a, I think it was a Christian college down there, was some kind of college down there, and we stayed in
Yeah,
their
Atlantic
dome.
Christian College. Yeah,
Is that
Atlantic
down
Christian
there?
College. That's where I went. Yeah.
Okay. And it's over off Campbellton Road,
Yeah, yeah. It's not
over in
off
that
Campbellton
area.
Road. I think it's off Ben Hill, but it's in the area.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So she convinced my mom to get me to go to this camp where we learned college courses. We stayed there all week and came home on the weekends. I got kicked out.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I went down there with the nigga shit. You know what I'm saying? And got
Yeah.
kicked out. So so uh, all I'm saying is that there are some kids that are rebellious or ain't gonna listen, even with guidance, but it will stick with them. You know, just creating the environment with nobody in your ear. The same reason why I didn't retire from the military is because I had friends that was doing it, but I didn't have no guidance. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If I had that guy, if I had somebody sit down and really challenge me on what you're going to do next, what are your next 5 moves? You know, well, here's your next 5 moves in the military. If you stay, what this is going to look like, and this is what it's going to
Hmm.
look like if you go home. You know what I'm saying? If I had somebody really challenge
Yeah.
me on that, more than likely I would have done 20 years, or at least, you
Yeah.
know, more. But that's why I say that there. I agree with you. There need to be an environment for those children that want to thrive, and I think there needs to
Yeah.
be something. that also those kids that don't know they can thrive, something to tell them. I'm not saying forcing them. I'm not saying making them. I ain't saying dragging them along and they constantly fighting you. Some people are just evil, and evil gonna do evil. You know what I'm saying? They can't be helped, and the system will weed
Yeah.
them out. But I think there needs to be some kind of guidance for those, for all children, good and bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do like I'm part of recovery program, a few recovery programs, and the way we talk about it is rock bottom. Um, so I do think the reason I think the way that I think is because I believe in you know rock bottom uh, theory is that like
I never hit it, so
uh,
thank God.
well I think you did. I think that's why you made a decision to go into the military
I
because I
made the
think
decision
you
to go
had
into the military. It wasn't no money in it. Well, I ain't gonna say wasn't no money in it. The money wasn't consistent because I was trying to do,
you know about
everybody else uh, selling drugs, you know what I'm saying, all that kind of stuff. Most people have if you look at like BMF and Scarface and
yeah
Capone, they
yeah
had organizations that built those
yeah
systems up to where they can make money. I was doing it by myself.
money yeah
You know what I'm saying? So I ain't
yeah
have no organization. I ain't trust nobody like that. So going to the military to me was like, I- I'm either gonna go to work every day here, or I'm gonna go to work every day over there. I'm just gonna go to
yeah
work every day. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I mean, I would consider that rock bottom. Like it's like a lot of people. So a lot of people think that rock bottom is like okay, I'm you know I'm down on my luck. I have nothing. I'm homeless. I'm all of this stuff. Just bad luck after one after another, and then I say okay, I surrender. Uh, that's rock bottom to me, and I think most recovery communities would agree with this. Rock bottom is just your place of surrender. So, like for me, I was working part time at like Waffle House, selling drugs part time, and and then I was like, okay, I think I just want to sell drugs, and I went with a friend of mine and me, him, and another dude, and all we did was sleep in the car and sleep in various trap houses we went to. None of us had any money. We barely had places to shower. And I did that for about 3 days, and I was like, you know what? I didn't trust them. Yeah, I didn't trust them. I didn't like where my life was going, and I was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. Like it just, like I said, that's where I was after 3 months of trying to be a drug dealer, and I was just like, this does not make sense to me. Like I don't even understand why I'm doing this. You
yeah,
know, uh, to me that was a rock bottom. Like that was a rock bottom. I was like, this is there's no. It's like this is me surrendering. There's no need for me to do this. And so that was my rock bottom. And like I said, I think I believe in that method. Like I believe that there is when a person says, okay, I am done, and they turn and they turn and go in the other direction. That is where reform begins. That is where the help should be, right? But if you're burning resources trying to convince someone to turn,
oh, they were burning
it's
resources
really
on me.
going to
I
be a
told you,
lot of.
I, man,
Well, from a
got kicked
personal
out.
perspective, yeah, there's. Hmm,
I was burning up
I'm,
bridges,
I'm,
man. Shit.
yeah, so I get that. What I'm saying is like from a personal perspective, to each his own, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm not I'm not like diminishing people who say, okay, I'm going back to my community. I want to minister to them, or I want to give encouragement to them, see if I can save a few You know, I'm not diminishing that. That is good for them. You know, I don't think I'm called for it, but good for them. I think that's an admirable task. What I'm talking about is from a political position, from a political position, a government position. We have far too many people who are exploiting the system so
I
that they
agree.
can, in the name of saving a few. And what I'm
I
saying
agree.
is, you're just burning resources.
I
Like,
agree.
get rid of that. Get rid of that and focus on the people
Hey,
who
I know what
can
you want to do.
produce.
I know what you want to do. You want to take the warning labels
Uh,
off of everything, right? Take the warning
yeah,
labels off of everything. If
yeah.
you dumb enough to drink bleach, die, motherfucker. If you dumb enough to
Die,
eat
motherfucker.
Tide Pods, die. If you dumb enough to climb on the electrical pole, get electrocuted and blow your limbs off. Go for it. Now I agree. I agree. We do need to take the training wheels off. I agree. It's time to take the training, especially with ADOS. It's time to
Yeah,
take the training wheels off. We've been at this too long. We seen how other groups can succeed, and we can take their blueprint. We seen how we could succeed. Our people had a blueprint. We've seen it. We know. So yes, it's time to take the training wheels off. We need to stop begging people for shit. We need to get together and we need to make this shit work. I wholeheartedly agree. And I'll leave it at that.
yeah, yeah. So I think the challenge is that it is profitable. It has become profitable with the welfare state for you to have a disadvantaged class,
Right.
and the story just fits too well for our people to be disadvantaged. Like, it just fits too well. All you got to do. No one knows about slavery. Like, we've we've covered more about slavery on this podcast than I've heard anyone cover about slavery at any time on anything other than when I read the W.E.B. Du Bois book, right?
Right.
Because because it's simply a moral topic, and no matter how you look at it, it's just wrong, and there's no nuance to it, and so black people are ashamed they were slaves. White people are ashamed that they enslaved, and the ones that didn't enslave, they were ashamed that they supported it. And so it's just slavery, wrong, and then we build this whole narrative from there. Like, oh, these people need help. Why do they need help? Because they were slaves. and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yo, when we gonna stop this shit? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it is it is a it is a cycle that's perpetuated to protect certain to protect certain groups that profit off of the off of the narrative, right?
Right.
Uh, it, and I'm just like, look, you guys are you're just wasting resources. And I think above anything, you see, like, over time, right? You become, because I think a lot of black people just got smart and said, we're not even worried about reform. We're just doing this for the money, because recently it's been a ton of scandals that have come out about, like, quote unquote black people creating organizations that are around that's supposed to be reforming,
Man, you see what's going
or
on in Georgia? All these
assisting.
black politicians getting caught stealing money with the COVID funds, stealing money from
Yeah.
using government resources to go on vacations,
Mm-hmm.
employing their cousin boyfriend and giving them jobs when they was
Mm-hmm.
unqualified for them to sit at home. This is just Georgia, because that's what I see. You know what I'm saying? I don't see what the other states are doing, but it's insane that our people who we call our people. I don't even know if they really part of ADOS or what they are. Maybe they are,
Yeah.
but for them to get a little bit of power and use that power to to only help them in their circle and not looking at the better good anything they could be doing. I think it it it
It's but
it
it's
puts a
because they
shadow on the
know
rest of it.
it's because they know it doesn't work. It is a money grab. They know
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
yeah.
So there's a story that I read about a black lady in Seattle. Her and her boyfriend, I believe, had an organization that was, that was about, some ending crime and violence in black communities, some type of reform thing. They were getting government funds while at the same time her boyfriend was tied to, uh, I believe, cartel gangs importing fentanyl. So they were taking government funds and
To
purchasing
import.
fentanyl and bringing it and importing it back into Seattle. In I said I wasn't gonna curse on here. In fucking
I take
sane.
my hat off to them.
It
I
is
take my hat
insane.
off to them. Pimp the system. Pimp the system.
Pimp the yeah, exactly. So, but like that's kind of my point is that like the gig is up, right? Or is it the
Well,
jig is
that
up?
was
I
all.
don't remember. I think
Yeah, yeah.
the
That's
jig
all.
is up. Yeah,
That,
the jig is up.
that's what them Somalians in Minnesota been doing. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? They sit up there and they talked about the average IQ of people in Somalia is like a 80 or something. Uh,
Mm.
they you can say what you want to say about their IQ, but they finesse skills is at a
But
hundred.
they got the system. I made a comment at work the other day, made somebody mad. I was like, man, I listened about that Somalian fried scheme,
Yeah.
and I was sitting there thinking, where was I? Like, where was I? Like, man, that sounds like the real come up, man. Gee.
All day.
But yeah, but
Millions.
look, the jig is up. Everyone knows these nonprofit companies are really not. They don't work. They don't work. Like the ones that are speaking about reform, they don't work, and they're just filtering money out of the system so that they don't have to actually get a real
Work.
skill to
Right.
where they have to actually labor. So
Right.
like and yeah, so that's why I'm always like, look, I don't want to hear about the reform nonsense and giving back and all that. I don't want to hear about that stuff, man, because it's it's not beneficial to anyone, and we know this. It's been like 60 years we've been doing this stuff, and black people are still, quote unquote, on the bottom of the economic totem pole, and more
And
importantly, which
when we are the richest we have ever been, we still on the bottom. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Well, here's the thing, because we, these polls are not completely what's perceived is not completely accurate. Is that black people don't work because so I actually looked at the numbers, employment numbers. Black men are actually black men in the labor force. They say black men participate in the labor force at a rate of like 70%. The only other group that participate higher, I believe, is white men. They participate at a rate of like, I think, like 70. It's like 72% or something like that.
Okay.
Uh, but I don't want to misquote that. I don't know because I didn't look up Mexicans, Asians. I didn't look up their participation rate. I didn't look up their participation rate. Oh, I don't remember their participation rate. I did look it up. Black women participate at, I believe, 60. It was 67%, just under black men, and white women participate at like 53 or 50 something. So white women are like 10 points behind black people. So yeah, so black people do work, right? That is true, but you also have to keep in mind, right? One, ADOS only makes up about 12% of the country, right? Then you do have this segment that is actually exploited and distributed. The poor black class is exploited and distributed, so it makes it seem like it's more it's a it's more prevalent than it really is, right?
All right. In 2003, the U.S. labor force participation rate varied by race, with the highest rates among Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders at 66%, those of two or more races 65.3%, and Asian 65%, while black 63.1% and white 62.3%, and American, Indian, Alaskan natives 59.2%.
You said that was when?
2000 2023.
That was 2023.
Yep.
Okay, I found some statistics that I think
That
that
was
was
on the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
I think I found some statistics that might have been
A little later.
it might have been a little later, but I think they were. You said 2023.
Yeah.
Cause I did a chart of this. Let me see. Oh no, that's right. Yeah. So it says 2023. Yeah, mine was
Oh.
63%. White population 62.3%. But here it is among this is Bureau of Labor among men. The participation rate for Black African American men is 68.6%. It was lower than white men. That was 70%. And for Black women, it was 63%, and white women 57. Uh, and then I think I had it for other groups. Yeah, 2023 Hispanic 67, Asian 65, Black 63, white 62. So yeah, that was accurate. So yeah, so I guess the my point is that the idea that black people don't work is not true, right? But the notion is because the community because the poor community is greatly exploited in the black community, and
And I,
it is and it's distributed, so it makes it look like it's more extreme than it is. And the
I think
reason
that's
that
the biggest.
is
Keep going. Keep going.
Well, the reason that is like I said, it's because people benefit, they profit from that story. And our story just fits so well, slavery, Jim
Well, I
Crow,
think one of the biggest problems
what
is our
drug
media today.
epidemics, redlining. Go ahead,
Yeah,
go ahead.
our media today exploits black people. I think just it's absurd the point that they exploit black people as a whole, because
Yeah,
they 100% focus on the least of us,
yeah,
without counting the greater of us, which makes the rest of society look at the greater of us as the minority. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you got a
hmm
job. Oh, you was in the military. Oh, you went to school. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Oh, it's like we're a butterfly in a volcano. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When it's the opposite. You know what I'm saying? When they should
Mm-hmm.
be looking at the black people who don't work, who don't have an education outside of high school, who don't try, their best to move ahead. They should be looking at those people going, "Oh, you ain't even tried." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You ain't gave your all. You know what I'm saying? Because the fact remains, I tell these kids in this house, look, I don't have plenty of jobs that I didn't want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That I felt was beneath me. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
I had to work. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew what the alternative
Mm-hmm.
was. I had too many friends that did the alternative and it didn't work out for them.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need to think that I could be the one in a million who could do it and get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Nah, that's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous.
Yeah. I'll say this. My first job was cleaning toilets. So I've never had a job that I felt like beneath me.
Well,
I enjoyed cleaning toilets. So look,
well,
I had a job. I had a job that I was like, this is hard.
I
And
went
a
from
job that
I went
I
from
just
I went from being a marine defender of the free world to wiping ass at one point, nigga. You know what I'm saying? So the
okay,
cleaning,
I get this, man.
you know what I'm saying? I'm just like
Mm-hmm.
washing dishes. You know what I'm saying? One of
Mm-hmm.
my jobs out of the military was working at Taco Bell, and all I did, I was their stock boy. Yeah, every day when the truck
Mm-hmm.
came in, I rotated the shells, did the stock, then I go make tacos for motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And this is after I was trained to kill you, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm making you
I can see how
tacos.
that could create. Yeah, I can see how that could create a discrepancy for you.
You know what I'm saying?
Going back to civilian life, making tacos. You're like, what?
You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
but
Like,
yeah, I do think. So I guess so. Back to your point with like the great replacement, right? Um, I think it in some ways. I think it could be good for us. I think it could be good for ADOS, primarily if it precedes the destruction, or primarily if it precedes us getting us controlling our story again. And that's
right,
why I'm like uh, I'm not looking to save anyone who wants to continually perpetuate these stereotypes. Uh, I think the best thing that can happen is that uh, Jason Riley wrote a book called "Dear White People, Leave Us Alone," or "Dear White Liberals, Leave Us Alone." I
it's a
believe that
long.
was the name of the book. Yeah,
I like the
I'm
sound of
not
that.
gonna say it like that. I'm not gonna say it like that. What I will say is, I think the political the political elites need to leave the ADOS community alone. Like, if we are left to fend for ourselves, then I believe we will thrive more than any other time that we have in history. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to outperform any group or anything, but I do think if we are left alone and we are not incentivized to perpetuate the story that was given to us as a legacy of slavery, right? Then I
Right.
think that is where the momentum can the momentum can be created, and we can actually begin to repair not only our reputation but our community
That
as a
that
whole.
what you mean by leave us alone? You mean
Well,
to just stop giving us jobs and let us figure it out?
if that's what it
You mean
takes, what I'm saying is So what I mean by leave us alone is I'm saying is just stop trying to help.
Save us.
Stop trying to solve. Yeah, stop trying to solve the black problem. In air quotes, because what I'm saying is this to save us, to help us, to solve the black problem. Like just stop. Just stop. Did you get that? I sent you uh, a
YouTube.
Instagram clip.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like
I saw that one.
YouTube
Yeah.
or Instagram clip of that dude. I don't know if he was like Arabic or something. He was talking about white people, and he was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"There's no whiter thing to do than to talk about how to help other disenfranchised groups without them being represented there, like something like
Yeah.
that."
Yeah. Yeah.
He was like, "You're not white." He was like, "Yeah, there's no whiter thing to do than to talk about another group of people."
Yeah.
but you know, but that's really what it is that like I feel like we have this sort of structure to where you have white liberal elites, and then now we have this great influx of black elites who talk along the same lines, who are completely detached from the real experience, right?
Yeah.
Like when you take these actors and entertainers who talk on behalf of black people, you know,
You've been wealthy since you
many
came
of
out of high
these,
school.
yeah, exactly. Many of you guys have been wealthy since you were 18. Somewhere between 18 and 22, you gained all your money. I'm sorry, you don't understand what it means to be black.
Yeah.
Your experience is totally different, right?
Right.
So why are we allowing you to perpetrate this sort of experience that you never had, even if you grew up poor? You know how many people grow up poor?
Hold on.
Like
Hold on.
it,
Hold on. Hold on. But there's one thing I got to say about that. I tell my children all the time. I'm like, y'all didn't. I say y'all may have grown up poor. I'm not poor. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't. Y'all was poor because y'all didn't have shit. Y'all relied on me for everything. So motherfucker, I
exactly,
no, no, no. Like I
and,
didn't
and
grow
yeah,
up.
and
I
that's my
didn't
point.
grow up poor. You know what I'm saying? So
That's my point is that like as a as an adolescent, you don't really know what your economic status is.
right,
You don't even know. All you know is my mama couldn't buy me this. My daddy couldn't buy me this. You might have had the experience like, okay, well, the utilities are cut off, or I didn't get anything for Christmas. But we attribute that to poverty, right? The poverty experience, and it very well can be. It also can be money mismanagement. It could also be that your parents were addicts. It could also it's a litany of things that could cause that. And my point is that as an adolescent, you don't understand the cause of poverty. So even if you grew
right,
up poor, the assumptions that you are going to make as to how to resolve the problem can be far off because you didn't
right,
have a real experience.
right.
But these are the people who talk for the community. And I'm like, why? Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You didn't have the same experience I did. I had to get a job at 20 because your mama was like, look, you got to start paying some bills or you got to get the hell on.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
you didn't have that experience. You bought
Right,
your mama a house at 20.
right,
Like that's not,
right,
come on. Like, so, and even to the point of like not having direction in like high school, if you're an athlete, you've had direction essentially all your life.
Right.
Like so, you just have these same experiences. I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do for about 25
I,
years,
look,
and then
I
after I forgot because it didn't pay no money.
I'm telling you, man. I don't get it. I agree with you. Athletes especially, actors on another level,
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
athletes
because some of them
especially,
really did experience poverty.
right, right. But athletes and rappers,
Yeah,
you 16,
yeah, yeah,
17, 18 years old, making millions buying jewelry. I don't care how you grew up, like you said. I don't care that you sold 38 keys back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Now what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You don't know what
yeah,
it's like to be 30 years old with one or two kids trying to figure out how you gonna make them peanut butter and jelly for the rest of the week for dinner. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all you
yeah,
can get
yeah,
your hand. You don't know the struggle, man. Don't give me that.
yeah. But yeah, and so that's why I say, uh, unfortunately, I mean, to me, it's just a pendulum swing because you have this black excellence
We
uh,
need
that is
one thing we
promoted.
need to do as ADOS is we need to get our children out of the mind frame of being actors, rappers, and athletes.
Yeah, yeah.
Musicians, athletes, we need to get that out of their mind frame. I'm not saying that they can't do that.
The top
There's
heavy economies.
well, but we already know there's a small group that even make it there. You look at all of the
Yeah,
college
it's a
athletes
top
now.
heavy economy.
Right, right. So we need to get our kids focused on. Uh, People can say, doctors and lawyers and all that stuff. I say if we can corner the market of plumbing, electrical, and HVAC,
Yeah,
if we can corner the market there where they have to come to us, you know what I'm saying? Septic tank clean outs, or whatever it is. If we can corner those markets, man, find that. I mean,
but
look at how the Eastern Indians, how they came
yeah,
to America and they cornered the hotel market. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So look, man, we can find a market
So
and corner it.
yeah, I think so. So I think that there's a few things there, right? I think that um, the discussion just needs to be about called human capital, the development of valuable skills that translate throughout trades or industries or markets, right? Um, so, for instance, you can become an engineer, right? You build things. You can become a computer programmer that's building things in software. You can become a mechanic, that's still building things. You can become an electrician to some degree. That's along the same lines of building things and stuff like that. So some of that stuff is just most of that stuff is just math, right? Like those things that I just named, financing, which is a big math thing. Like uh, that's just really good math skills, And if you're really really good at math, you can become like a mathematician who, for some reason, they just have immense amount of value in every market, you know, uh, because math is really the backbone of building everything. Like everything has
When
mathematical equation.
because you say that when God created the universe, it's all math. It's all
Yeah,
numbers. It's all
yeah,
math. So yeah,
yeah.
it's the
So
building blocks
and another
of build.
another skill, like right, communication, right? Communication is largely just reading, the mastery of language, right? There's so many things you can do with communication, right? You can lecture and be a teacher. You can like do what we're doing, trying to do a podcast, and you can become a writer, storytelling. Like the focus should be on hard skills, like mastering mastering of math, mastering of literature, you know, uh,
Science.
like yeah, mastering of science, and studying the world, and how, and in different elements, like all of these things render rewards that are far reaching. Now, if you want to tell jokes, right? If you want to be a comedian, unfortunately, learning comedic language does not translate to other to other arenas. If you want to be an
Well,
actor,
if you think about it, math, comedy is math also. It's a rhythm you need to have. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So it
yeah,
is a rhythm. But anyway, as you go on,
yeah.
as you
But yeah, my point is that developing skills, hard skills that translate, is the way that you build economic value for a community, right? And entrepreneurship is a part of that. Because if you have all of these hard skills mixed in, then if you have all of these hard skills mixed in, then you can expand, because the hardest thing about entrepreneurship is that you need a team. Like you have to have a team to build a business. And so, but you have to have those skill sets within your community in order to build a team within the community. And I think we're largely missing those.
yeah, I agree. Well, what you think, bro?
It's another 2 hours,
Think,
man.
think that was a good little talk.
We still live, by the way. But yeah, I
I
think it's
know.
been
I'm saying.
good.
I'm saying you think it's been good,
I think it's been good,
productive.
man. I think we touched a lot of subjects. I know we moved away from immigration, but I think we talked a lot about ADOS, and
You moved away from immigration.
how we moved away from immigration. We moved away from immigration. Now I think we're talking about ADOS and just the scope of things, and how, like, how this can affect us, where we're moving to in our society. And I think also how this can be beneficial if we're on the right side of this movement, which I think we are seeing a rupture within the community. If we're on the right side of this movement, I think it can very much benefit us, and we may be able to recapture something that we lost historically due to.
I, I think we're on the verge of it. I think there's going to be a great divide between the people who want more and the people who let me put it another way. I think there's going to be a great divide between people who want someone to a handout and people who think that we already have the skills to to get it done. I
Yeah,
think there's going to be a divide. There's always going to be that group, and they're going to want to infiltrate us because I believe I'm on the other side. There's going to be a group of people who want to infiltrate us and say that, hey, we need to call and get more of this and more of this and have them do this for us and do this and this. And then we're going to be sitting over here saying, look, they did all this stuff for us and we didn't take advantage of it. The resources are still available. Let's use the resources that's been made available to us and let's get this stuff done. So, uh, I do believe there's enough resources. I think the hardest part for us right now It's getting a group together because, like you said, to start anything major like business wise, you need a group. I think we need to
Mm-hmm.
start getting it, and it has already started happening. Because if you look around, there's a lot of black groups that are getting together, buying land, putting houses on it, becoming kind of self sufficient in a small way. You know, got gardens, got a few animals where they use all that to help feed the community. I
Yeah,
think it's starting.
building homesteads.
Right, right. I think it's starting. I think we just need more of that, and some people gonna disagree with me, but I think integrating into American society and embracing it is going to be our greatest resource, other than trying to
I
stand
agree with you.
outside of it. Instead of
I
trying to
agree
stand
with you. That was
outside
going
of
to
it,
be
and
my.
that was going to be a what?
That was going to be. That was going to be my my last point is that uh I just think we got to get rid of the racial divide within ourselves. We got to get rid of the racism. We have to embrace integration in order to build, because what'll happen is the more we integrate, the more the people who are willing to integrate do, and the fruit of that of relationship becomes prevalent, that would incentivize the rest, the others, to shift their way of thinking and integrate as well. And because they'll recognize that it renders results. Now, you will still have those that are trying to hold on to the rebellion, you know.
And we got to cut them off. We got to
And
cut them off.
well, yeah, and they'll die off. So and that'll just be that, they'll die off or they'll be separate. But if we can grab the majority, I think it will be over time a majority that truly embraces an integrated America, and, and and take advantage of that. And that's the beauty about what I'm seeing now is that we're seeing ourselves being counted amongst the true Americans, not
That could be something we talk about
historical
one day.
problem.
Talk about ADOS who did integrate after a hard life, like say Frederick Douglass, or
Yeah,
maybe not Frederick Douglass,
married a
because
white woman.
what? Oh yeah, what? But he
Frederick Douglass married a
integrated.
white woman.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, he integrated.
But
He
what?
believed in
Yeah,
integration.
right. He integrated and it worked. You know what I'm saying? Even though some parts of
Well, look,
society did pull him in, it still worked.
well, the greatest, the greatest prophet for integration was Dr. King, and everybody hates him now. It's because people don't understand his vision. Um, people don't want to understand his vision, and they're taking a lot of this stuff out of context. One day, I will set the record straight, but today, it's not the day.
Well, hey, we appreciate everybody who came and partook in a little bit of this, and for those of you who listen later, we appreciate y'all. And I guess that's it, brother. Unless you got something else.
Yeah, check out our website, Becoming American Project.org. It's up and running right now, I believe. Uh, also, I'm working on the Substack, so that should be up soon. Check that out. We should have a lot of material on there as well. Uh, I'm starting to gonna start working on building the material up there, like articles and blog posts, mostly commentary stuff, to start out on history. So, with that being said, thank you all. All right, cuz.
All right,
Ready?
cuz. Appreciate everybody.
All right.